I've got the blues since they amputated my boobs. Lordy, Lordy, war is swell. You know, I don't have to tell. Oh, I've got the alcoholic blues, some blues. Prohibition, that's the name. Prohibition drives me insane. I'm so thirsty, soon I'll die. I simply grind, evaporate, I just that dry. I wouldn't mind to live forever in a train if my thirst had only let me quench, and not with Bevo or ginger ale. I want real stuff by the pail.
You're very exceptionary. No dictionary can define what's genuinely indescribable. Very exceptionary. No ordinary phrase can capture you. Now some might say that you're tremendous. You are so much more stupendous, so magnificent, so magnanimous. If we voted, it'd be unanimous. Very exceptionary. This temporary phrase we'll have to do. It's true for my very exceptionary you. Exceptionary. No dictionary can define what's genuinely indescribable. Very exceptionary. No ordinary phrase can capture you. Now some might say that you're tremendous. You are so much more stupendous, so magnificent, so magnanimous. If we voted, it'd be unanimous. Very exceptionary. This temporary phrase we'll have to do. It's true for my very exceptionary. For my very
Is my mic on now? It's on. I read that whole scripture. I'm sorry. I apologize. Technical difficulties. Okay, so tonight's random read is going to come off of the book of John, chapter 7, verses 14 through 24. The Jews marvel at Jesus' teaching. Now, about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. And the Jews marveled, saying, How knoweth this man letters, having never learned? Jesus answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of God, or whether I speak of myself. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory. But he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me? The people answered and said, Thou hast a devil, who goeth about to kill thee. Jesus answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and ye all marvel. Moses therefore gave unto you circumcision, but not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers. And ye on the Sabbath day circumcise a man. If a man on the Sabbath day receiveth circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken, are ye angry at me, because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Once again, this random read comes from the book of John, chapter 7, verses 14 through 24. The Jews marvel at Jesus' teaching. I apologize for that. I was messing with my settings, so I apologize for that. Anyhow, let's get to the intro of the show, and then I'll introduce my co-host for the night, and I'll see you guys in a bit.
I've been having these thoughts, and we're just waiting in line to wake up.
What is this fucking place?
Are we dreaming? Open your eyes.
Everything that you hoped for, what you dreamed about being a part of, is a fabrication. Your art. Your culture is the shell of other men's ambitions. Ambitions beyond what you will ever understand.
All right, let me go here and introduce my host. Java, you can go ahead and unmute. Hopefully they can hear you. There it is, yes.
I double unmuted.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen of everybody on the Zoom. Bam! What is going on, brother?
What's up, brother? How's everything?
Man, I messed up in the beginning. I forgot to undo my settings from the last time I streamed when I was trying to make a beat on a live stream. I totally messed it up, so I had to redo it.
That's all good. It happens.
Yeah. Live stream life, man.
Dude, it's a whole other set of parameters that one would not even think would be parameters.
Right. Especially if you're a one-man show, man. There's a lot of things that you have to do, and it's just, yeah, man.
Exactly.
Shouts out to Kevin R. out in the YouTube side of things. I am multi-streaming in 3 different platforms right now, so if I happen to miss anybody out there, I apologize. But yeah. So anything interesting during the week? How was Thanksgiving?
It was good. I actually I woke up really late because I had streamed really late that previous night. And so my own cooking that I did on that day made it to where I ate at like 7.
Oh, wow. 7 at night?
Yeah.
Holy macro, dude.
But I streamed for a few hours too, like playing music in the middle of the day and stuff that delayed my
I see.
cooking
Yeah,
experience.
I see.
Uh,
Yeah, we went to San Antonio and we hung out with a couple of friends over there. Actually, we went to go see different set of friends, and it was nice. It was really nice to
Nice.
connect with people. One of them was somebody that we haven't seen in a while too, so that was really nice. Yeah. So
And it's
anyhow,
not too far of a drive either, so that's
no,
good.
it's not. It's not that. Well, I mean, it's like 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but still, it's not that bad of a drive, you know. When I used to live in SoCal, the drive from because I like to go to Vegas years ago. This is when I was younger, and the drive was like what 2.5, 3 hours.
Yep.
I'm not a driving type. I don't like road trips. When I drove from California to Texas, when I did my final move, man, that was horrible. That was
Quite the
horrible.
drive. I've done that drive too many times.
Yeah, that was very. I didn't enjoy it. But on the way, I was able to stop by New Mexico and meet up with somebody who used to frequent the Foxhole. Chris Hawkins, shouts
Oh,
out.
no way.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I met with him, and he was the one who told me that no, you have to meet me, and I'm buying lunch for you. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. So I went, and it was a great. We connected really well, and it was weird because, well, I wouldn't say weird, but it was one of those things that I think for sure God's hands was in it, because he was talking to me about personal stuff that he was going through. And before I left, I said, do you want to pray, and do you want to read the Bible? And he said, yeah. So we picked something randomly, and lo and behold, what we picked pertained to his problems that he was going through. And I told him, like, see, I told you, bro, like, when God talks
How
to
it
you,
works.
he talks to you, dude. And he was just blown away. And I was like, that's absolutely that's absolutely God telling you something,
Right, exactly. I mean, that's how that particular thing works. Like, people, or even just open the door to being receptive um to that type of message.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, it'll happen. Like every time. Like,
Absolutely. But I haven't seen him around lately, or I have his number, or he changed his number, but I just haven't talked to him before. And he used to frequent the show a lot when I used to open up the lines. I have since then changed the way I do my shows, because sometimes it can get out of hand where people do get on, and
Yeah.
it just becomes, I don't know. I just had bad experiences with the whole open line thing. And in order for me to like cut down this, like, people being disrespectful and stuff, I had to just stop. But it was a pleasure to have connected with him, and when he comes on the show and talks, and we all connect. And also man, Crane Up, WC Crane Up, man, I miss him too. We've had a great connection as well when I used to when we used to talk, and when I would meet with him. It was always a very, very spiritual and personable time that we spend, and we talk about a lot of stuff about pertaining to the spiritual life. But I haven't connected with him since. It could be just life, I don't know.
He popped up in the chats like a month ago or something.
Yeah, I think I seen him, and he was on Mr. C show, I think.
Yeah.
So
He just like popped in the chats, but it had been hasn't been since then, and it had been a while before that.
in all fairness, that WC has texted me on Thanksgiving Day, and he wished me a happy Thanksgiving, and I did the same. But man, I think I have to give him a call and see what's going on, because I mean, the last time I really talked to the guy, he was going through some really some really spiritual stuff, man. I think that there was stuff like bugging him because he was there. I think you've heard the story. You know, I really don't want to get into the story here on the live stream, but there was an incident that happened. He was there, and that really hit him because there always seems to be this a certain type of spirit, I would say, that he's experienced. And this guy, like, I'm pretty sure he has a relationship. He's very knowledgeable about scripture, and he's done his research about things of the Bible. And I learned a lot from him. But there always seemed to be some type of spirit around him that he just can't shake off. But I really hope that everything is okay with him now. He says, I mean, I saw the chats where he said he was kind of doing better now, but, you know, I really don't know because I haven't spoken to the guy. But I miss him. He's like a big brother to me. You know, one of those types of guys who's your big brother. I never had a big brother, but he's just one of those type of guys for me. He's like he's like an elder for me. In not in a disrespectful way, but a guy that I kind of
I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Those people are really important in our lives and stuff, and it's possible that it has come to fruition in a health type way with him.
Because I think last time I saw, like, I think he sent the text message or something that he was working out. So I'm pretty sure he's making a change for his life in not only the spiritual way, but also, you know, physically. And I think he's eating differently too. So big ups to him, man. Really miss the guy.
For sure.
Shouts out to Go Sin No More on the YouTube side. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. We got an interesting show. I really don't know where it's going to go. I was really, really trying to dig on things about the artists that we're going to be talking about today. I did have some qualms about the song and the music video. There was just a few qualms about it, and also the title of the song itself kind of made me think, like, well, what do you mean, you know? So the artist that we're going to be talking about today is Sade, and the song that we're going to be poking into is The Sweetest Taboos. And like I said, it was I try to find things on on the song, on the artist. The artist, like, I couldn't really find anything, except it's just interesting that the name Sade, the way she picked her name, it's like part of her middle name, right? Well, I mean, I don't know if you did, because I did the research, and we're gonna read it in the bio as well. But I did a little research on her name, and apparently she chose her name because it's part of her middle name, so she chose that. But then when I was looking up that name, it was weird because it connected me to some philosopher back in the late 1700s, I believe, mid to late 1700s, about a philosopher who's I think his name, or he was known as Marquis de Sade. Yeah, Marquis de Sade, some French philosopher or something like that. And this dude was into a lot of really weird stuff. It got so bad that his mom, like, disowned him at one point of his life. And he was, yeah, I did some research on that dude, and man, it was very, very, it was more than I bargained for, let's say. And it's just kind of weird that correlates with the title of the song, Sweetest Taboos. And I was like, man, you know, this is strange. This is really strange. And of course, I'm going to be referring to scripture as well, what the Bible says, what the taboos are, what's forbidden, at least in God's eyes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start this. Let's start with the bio here. Let me just pull it up and share it. Let me share it with you first. And shouts out to the people who are here today. I I appreciate you guys being here. I mean, you guys could be anywhere else, but you're choosing to spend your time here with us. Hold on for a moment. One man production here. Let's go here and let's go there. Cool. All right. So I'll start off with the first two paragraphs, and then we'll switch off. Oops, what I do here? Okay. All right. So this biography comes from allmusic.com. It's by Andy Kellman. Since debuting with the top 10 UK hit Your Love Is King in 1984, Sade have remained across 4 ensuing decades of intermittent activity. Shrewd synthesists of classical jazz, cutting-edge R&B, and mature pop. Although they're known most for stylishly seductive ballads, including the international hits Smooth Operator, Sweetest Taboo, which is the song we're doing tonight, and No Ordinary Love, and By Your Side, they've also recorded poignant songs regarding slavery, immigration, parenthood. Man, are you serious? She gone woke a little bit. Parenthood, out of wedlock, and everyday struggles, often through Sade Adu's third-person narratives. From Diamond Life, 1984, through Soldier of Love, 2010, breaks between Sade albums have increased in duration from a year and a half to a decade. But each return has been warmly greeted. All 6 of Sade's albums have entered the UK top 20, placed within the US top 10, and in both countries have achieved platinum status. Additionally, Sade are 4-time Grammy winners, having invalidated the Best New Artist curse with subsequent wins for No Ordinary Love, Lover's Rock, and Soldier of Love. 7 years after the latter took the award for Best R&B Performance, they returned with contributions to the soundtrack of A Wrinkle in Time and Widows. Sade are named after singer and songwriter Helen Folasade Adu. Born in Ibadan, is that how you say it? Ibadan, Oye State, Nigeria, Adu moved with her mother and brother to southeast England, outside Colchester, at the age of 4. A lover of early 70s soul, Adu tentatively became involved with music after enrolling at St. Martin's School of Art to study fashion. When friends asked her to help with their group's vocals, after she finished her coursework in 1981, she joined the band Pride, and into 1983 toured the UK with the act. Their gigs eventually featured a mini set during which Adu was granted the spotlight, backed by some of her bandmates on intimate jazz-inspired material. These segments, specifically Smooth Operator, composed by Adu, and the band's Ray St. John, drew attention from label representatives. Adu was pursued as a solo act, but she sang with Epic after demanding to bring along some of her partners in Pride, bassist Paul S. Denman, keyboardist Andrew Hale, and saxophonist and guitarist Stuart Matthewman.
The London-based quartet made the recorded debut in February 1984 with the controlled yet expressive ballad Your Love Is King, which soon entered the UK singles chart and the following month peaked at number 6. Another single, the down but not out soul anthem When Am I Going to Make a Living, preceded the July release of the full-length Diamond Life. Produced by Robin Miller, the album was written primarily by Adu and Matthewman in tandem, and finished off with a cover of Timmy Thomas's 1972 hit, Why Can't We Live Together? Reinforced with the number 19 UK single Smooth Operator, Diamond Life, itself falling just short of the top spot on the UK albums chart, became one of the biggest mid-80s debuts. In the US, it was issued on Epic's subsidiary Portrait in early 1985 and reached that number 5 in June, with Smooth Operator doing most of the heavy lifting as a crossover smash that climbed to number 5 on the pop and R&B charts and topped the adult contemporary chart. Diamond Life eventually went quadruple platinum in the UK and US and earned sales certifications in several other territories. Nice. Sade continued to gradually refine and expand their cosmopolitan mix of jazz, R&B, and pop, and continuously declarated their writing and recording processes. Working again with Robin Millar, they started recording their second album around the time Diamond Life was distributed in the US, issuing it internationally that November as Promise. On its way to international multi-platinum success, Promise topped the UK and US pop charts, led by The Sweetest Taboo again, which went to top 40 UK and peaked at number 5 in the US the week after the band won Best New Artist at the 28th Annual Grammy Awards. Interesting. Shortly thereafter, Never As Good as the First Time strengthened their hold on urban and adult contemporary radio.
Despite a gap of nearly 2.5 years between full lengths, Sade remained a major commercial force with third album Stronger Than Pride. This time, production was handled by the band with help from Mike Pella and Ben Rogan, established Sade associates who played comparatively minor roles beforehand, carrying some of the band's airiest arrangements and deepest rhythms, exemplified respectively by the title song and Paradise, two of its 4 singles. The album climbed to the 3rd spot on the UK and US charts. A longer studio release break ensued and was broken in October 1992 with Love Deluxe, produced by the band with Pella. More electronic and atmospheric than the band's previous albums, it entered the top 10 in the UK and missed the top of the US chart by 2 slots. Feel No Pain, Kiss of Life, that song right there, also Kiss of Life, that there's a little bit of blasphemy going on with that one. And the pulsing trip hop precursor, Cherish the Day, all charted, but the LP's biggest single was easily its first, No Ordinary Love. It hit number 14 in the UK and US and won another Grammy Award, this time for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocal. The song had a lingering effect strong enough to keep the parent release on the Billboard 200 for almost 2 years. The band responded in kind with their longest hiatus to that point. In 1996, Matthewman resurfaced as a co-writer and co-producer on Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. That was a good album, man. That was a very good album. But there's some stuff in that album as well. Thereby beginning a last close association with the album's Maverick namesake. Later that year, Matthewman, Denman, and Hale released Sweetback, titled after the name of their new side project. Maxwell, Emile LaRue, and Bahamadia were among the guests on the album, a stylistic successor to Love Deluxe that went a little farther out with no concern for hit making. Toward the end of the decade, Sade reconvened to record their fifth album, Lovers Rock, distinguished by some dubwise rhythms and a greater emphasis on Matthewman's acoustic guitar. The LP cracked the UK Top 20 and was yet another number 3 US hit upon its November 2000 arrival, supported with By Your Side, number 17 in UK Pop, number 75 in US Pop. The Recording Academy awarded it Best Pop Vocal Album at the 44th Annual Grammy Awards. Following a customary album promoting tour, the band appeased fans in February 2002 with Lovers Live. A second project from Sweetback Stage 2 followed 2 years later.
And I remember that whole Sweetback thing.
Which one? The Maxwell?
That first album of that. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You're talking about Maxwell's album, right?
Yeah, well, it was like they all came together and made it together.
Yeah. They have a very, very similar sound to them. Well, it's the same people. That's why.
Yep. In December 2009, Soldier of Love ended a period of silence during which Adu raised her daughter and was honored with an OBE, Order of the British Empire. Interesting.
Huh.
The song's stark, swaggering theatricality made it feel like more of an event more than any other Sade re-entry. Kind of like what Madonna tries to do.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yep.
Boy.
She's doing a lot of weird stuff, man.
Weird. She doesn't even look anything like what she used to look like in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on top of her being maybe it's the lack of you know what.
Yep. That's what I think. An album of the same title was released the following February, entering the UK chart at number 4 and the US chart at the top. The song made the band Grammy winners for a fourth time, again taking the award for the best R&B performance by a duo or a group with a vocal. In 2011 catalog release, The Ultimate Collection summarized the band's discography and included a handful of previously unreleased songs. That's cool. 7 years passed before Sade released new recordings, both of which were made for soundtracks. Flower of the Universe, for good old woke Disney's Wrinkle in Time, and The Big Unknown for Windows.
Widows.
Oh, Widows. I was going to say, is that the Microsoft story?
It says Widows.
Widows.
Yeah. Huh. Well, there's really not. I mean, they've had a great success, and yeah, there's always been a gap for each album that came out, like a long gap, but they always came back strong. They're good. They're very good musicians. She's a terrific singer. I really like their groove, especially that Urban Hang Suite. That album, man, has a lot of really good grooves in it. But like I said, there's problems with him. There's problems with a lot of the lyrical content of some of those songs in there too, and even the music videos. But that will probably be for another time. So let me see if we got anything interesting here with the about for the song. Hold on for a moment. Let me just take us to the clouds right quick. Actually, let me put the zoom thing here real quick, because I think I dug something on the about for the song. Give me a minute, peeps. Okay, yeah, here it is. It's a very short thing on the about. Do the article share here. Share that with you. Okay. So, about the sweetest taboo. This is according to, hold on, man. Genius.com. It's a very short thing. Sweetest taboo is the height of sexual pleasure, and Sade sings lovingly about a man who gets her there in the song. The line, quote, "There's a quiet storm," is a reference to the Quiet Storm radio format, which is filled with baby-making music like this song. The song is the lead single from Sade's second LP, Promise. And this is what's weird about this whole thing, right? With her name, and this song in particular is talking about sex. So, and it's, you know, it's called the sweetest taboo. So let's refer to scripture here real quick, because that's basically what I like to do. I always refer to scripture for certain things. And so, can you see the can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to be referring to the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, and it's going to be the whole chapter. It's not that long. So let me read it. Leviticus chapter 18 from verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. So he's already, like, God is setting the rules here, right? He's setting the rules for the people who got led out of Egypt. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments, and keep mine ordinances, to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. Now he's referring to sex when he's talking about the nakedness of somebody. The nakedness of thy father, or the nakedness of thy mother, shalt thou not cover, or thou not uncover. Sorry. She is thy mother, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover, it is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of the daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not cover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, beside the other in her lifetime. Thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch. Keep that part in mind, especially when we watch the video. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shalt lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also, when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them, shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. So pretty much God was giving the ground rules, right, for these so-called taboos. Hold on for a moment. Let me go back to the clouds real quick, or to the Zoom. So what's your take on that so far?
Well, I mean, it's pretty laid out right there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no that's very direct.
Right? So the thing that kind of caught my mind, or caught my eye, I would say, the reason why I bring this particular scripture up is because I was trying to look for biblical taboos, and this whole chapter popped up, and it was interesting that I saw Moloch there, because in the video, clearly there are, well, it's kind of hidden. You kind of have to look, but there are pictures of bulls in there. And
and bulls are ball worship also.
yes. And so I was wondering, why did they have pictures of that? You know, what was the purpose of that? But then again, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is the music industry, and they have to always put something in there, ever so subtle, to subconsciously plant that in your brain. let me go here too, because on top of which is also interesting, and it may connect, it may not connect. I don't want to seem like I'm reaching, but when we're talking, like, also when I did like a research thing for Sade, as I was talking about earlier, I found this guy whose name is Marquis de Sade. Is that how you say it? Marquis de Sade. So here's a little biography on this dude. Okay, and this is interesting because I just read out Leviticus 18, and this character right here, man, very, very interesting. Very interesting. I don't know how this connects, but to me it connected. It connected.
That's what I thought when I first saw her name. I thought the same thing. I've read one of this guy's books before.
Hold on, let me share it with everybody out there too. Here.
Marquis de Sade. Yeah, that's where that whole sadism comes from. And sadomasochism. That's him. He's the guy that they coined that phrase because of this guy.
It's very interesting to me that she could have done something else with her. She could have even picked a different. Well, I mean, it's the group's name, right? It's not her name. It's the group's name.
But the group's like a duet or something.
Yeah. And they could have used another name or something. But it was just interesting that they used this, and then having the title of Sweetest Taboo. I mean, I don't know what they're really talking about. There's a lot of interpretations to that video. A lot of people say that there's an affair going on with a married man, but at the same time, when you watch the video, like, there's little things in there that make me wonder, like, does this really pertain to an inappropriate relationship with somebody? I mean, you see the bull pictures, and then at the end she writes on the window temor, which I found out means fear in Spanish. And like, I don't understand. Where's the connection to having a inappropriate relationship and having to write the word fear and having these subtle bull pictures in the music video?
Well, the bull pictures would be the most questionable part.
Yeah.
I would think, like, the fear, that's really interesting to write on the wall, but on the window, but it could be like afraid of being found out or whatever if it was about a relationship. But the bull thing is more inexplicable, and when one talks about, like, if you like that, the whole title of the song is very similar to a lot of lyrics that we've discovered have
double entendres.
Yeah, involving the music industry. Like last week is a prime example. Like, if we correlated last week and this week, the Have a Cigar thing where the industry guys are tantalizing and trying to bribe this group to be a part of them. So, and it's the same kind of thing, like Swiss Taboo is somewhat similar to that, because that's kind of like say if it was more Luciferian, that it's the same kind of tantalizing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It seems like like sweet and amazing and incredible, but the person doesn't want to admit that they're mingling with things they shouldn't.
Right. It's kind of one of those things where I guess you can say they get to a point, and I think when it starts, like when their whole career starts, maybe little by little they add things for them to do for them, right? And then finally gets to a point where I guess it's not so, I mean, we're talking about back then, because now it's different. Everything's just so obvious now. But back then, it probably built up to a point where you had to do certain things, and then the artists or the group or whatever, they get to a point where they're questioning whether they should or not. But of course, you know, the worldly the things that people want of this world is a big temptation for them to just go ahead and make that step and just go, you know.
Well, even back in the day, the artisans, you know, the playwrights, the authors, the musicians, the composers, in order to be endorsed by the wealthy, like the rich, they're the ones who basically, you know, it's like Michelangelo was funded by the wealthy. You know what I mean? Like artisans survive by being supported by the wealthy class. So though their motives and their religion, their belief system and all their stuff, they force a lot of the artisans to express that through their art in order to be supported.
Would you say it would be a hidden hand, maybe?
Absolutely. Completely. Because if for those artists to be able to continue to exist by their creations and be supported by, like, be funded by that, they're forced to basically create things on the public sphere that represent what their funders
into,
want them to create.
Yeah.
It's been that way, you know, since even before the Renaissance and all that stuff. So especially when it comes to spirituality, you know, like a certain agenda took over the arts and stuff and turned it, because there was a lot of religious art for hundreds of years. A lot of painters painted religious art, and then there was a direct turning from that to where instead of allowing multiple things to be expressed, it was basically like everyone went on this like deviated path with the arts. And
well, I think a lot of new age stuff got into there too.
Yeah, because that's part of the that's one of the avenues that the global type elite pushed through on the artists to make and stuff. They were into that whole like theosophy and all that stuff, but that was in like a century ago. It wasn't as far back as some of the stuff, but
so I guess it would be fair to say that all these influences with quote culture have been going on for centuries then.
Centuries. By the same group of people too.
Even till now. You're absolutely right.
Now they're more direct, but it seems to be a Luciferian leaning agenda. They may add in Moloch and some of this other stuff, but it all kind of like, and Baal, like Baal, that one.
Yep.
That one was the bull as well.
Yeah. He had multiple. He had the name of Tammuz also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me read this thing here about Marquis de Sade.
Yeah.
Let me do a couple of paragraphs, and if you don't mind switching out with me.
Sure.
So I got this from biography.com. I guess he was an author as well. From 1740 to 1814. Marquis de Sade was a French aristocrat and philosopher who became notorious for acts of sexual cruelty in his writings as well as in his own life. Marquis de Sade, a French aristocrat, philosopher, and writer of explicit sexual works, was born in Paris in 1740. His writings depict violence, criminality, and blasphemy against the Catholic Church. During the French Revolution, he was an elected delegate to the National Convention. The last 13 years of his life were spent in an insane asylum. He died in 1814. Early life says Donatien Alphonse Francois, best known as Marquis de Sade, was born in Paris, France on June 2nd, 1740. His father was a diplomat in the court of Louis XV, and his mother was a lady in waiting. From the start, de Sade was raised with servants who flattered his every whim. Not long into his childhood, his father abandoned his mother, and his mother took refuge in a convent.
Yep. See, he's part of the aristocracy. Then
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. They're a whole other level of debauchery
And they
instilled right into their offspring.
have the money to do all these kind of things, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the age of 4, de Sade was known as a rebellious and spoiled child with an ever-growing temper. He once beat the French prince so severely that he was sent to the south of France to stay with his uncle, an abbot of the church. During his stay, while he was 6 years old, his uncle introduced him to debauchery. He was an abbot, go figure. 4 years later, de Sade was sent back to Paris to attend the Lycée Louis the Grand. After misbehaving in school, he was subject to severe corporal punishment, namely flagellation.
You got
He
whooped.
He spent the rest of his adult life obsessed with the violent act. He was traumatized, so he just kept repeating it, I guess. Oh boy.
Can you see it? Because I think okay, there we go. Go
A
ahead.
little bit lower. There, yeah, I can see that. Sexual offenses by de Sade. As a young man, de Sade had many affairs with women, most of them prostitutes. De Sade's father was frantic to find his son a rich wife. The de Sades, although stable in status, had drastically decreased their financial holdings. In 1763, de Sade married Renée Pélagie de Manchouille. I probably botched that. The daughter of a wealthy government official, of course. Married life didn't slow his sexual pursuits, however, and within a few months, he was renting out rooms to carry on his intense fantasies. Seems to happen prevalently in these aristocratic families,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know that these, I don't know, these people who are in these groups, these secret groups, so to say, they're into all sorts of weird stuff, man.
Weird stuff, and I think it's multi-generational.
It has to be. I totally agree with that. Let's see. His first serious offense came when he forced a prostitute to incorporate crosses into their sexual acts, something that seemed altogether blasphemous. I think that's an understatement as far as like the research I've done with this dude. The word blasphemous is probably a very weak word to use because this dude was into some weird stuff.
Yeah.
The woman immediately told the police about the event, and de Sade was arrested and imprisoned. They released him after a short time, and he promptly returned to his old habits. Of course, His behavior tested his wife's limits, but divorce was practically impossible. The couple eventually had 3 children. Man, I wonder if they carried that on, dude.
Probably.
On Easter Sunday in 1768, Desaad invited a chambermaid to his room, cut her, and then dripped hot wax into her wounds. The Desaad family paid the woman to keep her from testifying, but after such social embarrassment, Desaad was made to live on the margins of society. Obsessed, he committed sodomy with 4 prostitutes, and his manservant, dude, this guy was into anything that moved, I guess, huh?
Everything, even oatmeal.
Just 4 years later. Even though the act of sodomy was rather common among the aristocracy, the court decided to make an example of him and banished him to exile in Italy.
Incarceration. While in prison, Desaad wrote incessantly, producing 15 manuscripts in all, including the infamous Justine and 120 Days of Sodom. Gross. When the French Revolution broke out, Desaad convinced members of the new regime that he had been a victim of the old aristocracy. Amazingly, they released him from prison and welcomed him into the new government. It was the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte that led to his demise.
Isn't that weird?
Napoleon killed this dude?
I guess. That's what I'm assuming. I guess the guy was too much for Napoleon, man. And Napoleon is like one of those really ruthless guys too back in history.
Yeah, well, wasn't he short as well? And he was like, "Oh, screw you guys. You're over 5 feet. I will kill you." Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, there's one last.
He had little man syndrome.
He did big time. He would have driven a monster truck if he was alive.
Or have a big dog.
All right. Desaad was put into an insane asylum. Well, better late than never, I guess. From 1810 until his death on December 2nd, 1814. And while in there, he conducted a relationship with the 13-year-old daughter of an employee at the... Weird.
How did she get in there?
It was an employee of the asylum.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How did did they stay in there too?
No, it was probably like the employee had to bring the kid to work while working or something.
Oh.
And then he started acting. Oh, that's horrific. But that explains a lot, because that means that the elite class, the aristocracy, even back then, hundreds of years ago, have proclivities towards some of these things.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because it's wrapped up in their core psychological makeup, like the stuff that happened to them in their earliest years. It's like he just got worse with it, and it's a prime example. It still is happening to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, it's weird because the thing with Balenciaga coming out, you heard about that?
Yep.
Dude, man, I'm almost thinking that this is like God's grace saying, "Hey, you need to talk about this," and this is probably, man, this is weird, man. It's weird. All the timing on me doing this particular song, this particular quote philosopher, and then the whole thing with Balenciaga and the children and a lot of weird things, man. Wow.
Yep. Yeah, and he was this person wrote books and papers and stuff on all this stuff. Marquis de Sade, and it's an example of that whole group of people, that whole class of families that do this, and this is how the music ties in, and like we've seen writing here and plays
Yes.
and all of it is the same thing, and because the movies and everything and music is newer compared to like some of the plays and books and stuff that were written, hundreds of years ago. But it's the same class, like the same families and groups of people that are perpetuating this stuff through all the art forms and everything. And that's interesting. That's interesting to see that you stumbled on that, because that shows that it was still happening then. That was like 200 years ago, Marquis de Sade.
Well, it only popped up because of the name. Because I was trying to figure out. I mean, who knows? Maybe the reason why they picked Sade is in reference to that.
That's what it kind of seems like, especially with that song. It's a good connection between the two, I think.
It's a very seductive song, man. It's I mean, a lot of her earlier stuff is very sensual. You know what I mean? I always gotta, it had this sensual vibe to it. I hate using that word vibe. Everybody uses it like it's overkill. It's kind of like that word, the R word, where everybody uses it and it's just overkill, has no more meaning. But it definitely has that
ruining all the cool words.
I know, man. But no, it definitely has that sensual feel to it. Her music, her earlier music, a lot of it does. Could it be coincidental? I wouldn't. I don't know. For some reason, I don't think it's coincidental.
So, the singer herself did not create the music.
She wrote some of it, though.
She wrote the words, right?
Yeah.
But not the music itself. So that groove and all that part was the label. So it makes sense that they would try to make it that way.
This is, just trying like, I'm trying to understand, like, is there a connection there? I think there is. I think there's a valid connection there. It's not a mistake that there's a philosopher named Sade, and then the name of the group is, and the feel of the group has a kind of like a sensual feel to their earlier music. I don't think it's an accident. I really don't. Call it reaching. You could, but I don't think they had to be subtle back then. They had to be very subtle, and this is very, very subtle. It's very subtle. It's interesting. It's very interesting. All right, there's another article here that I have. I want to pull this up. And I know we're doing a lot of things before we get to the lyrics, but I thought it's very pertinent, and I thought it's pretty interesting as well. Let me share this with you, my friend Java. Let's see. Okay. So there's just this one part of this article. I don't want to share the whole thing. There's just this one part here that I thought was interesting. And this is by sdms360.com. In reference to the song, okay? It says here, "You give me the sweetest taboo. To do or engage in something taboo usually creates feelings of anxiety, fear, apprehension because of the possible blowback or judgment from society." That's probably why she wrote Timor at the... It could be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It could be. It could be. I'm still open to the possibilities of what that could really mean. Yet in the song, Sade sings about sweetest taboo. How is it that possible that taboo can be sweet? That does make sense. How can you call something like that taboo, and at the how can taboo be sweet and still have fear? That's a mixed. That's very mixed. That's two emotions fighting each other, right?
Psychosis.
One way is relating to the saying, forbidden fruit is always sweetest. This implies that the thing or act is inherently evil, and that to partake of that forbidden fruit means that you are indulging in an appetite that is best left suppressed. Kind of reminds me of the dude that we were just talking about too, huh? Often this appetite is sexual in nature. Though of course not always. This is one perspective of taboo. And according to this person who wrote the article, they say, my perspective of sweetest taboo is an expansion of this traditional understanding. If I'm given the sweetest taboo, I'm being given an opportunity to break the mold in my field. I see a chance to reject the limitations that society has placed on me in its defining the standards for acceptable or unacceptable. It's the trigger that can launch me into a new place of freedom and liberty. Let's see. Which taboo to topple? I'm not advising anyone to break any and every taboo. I'm saying the opportunities will present themselves to you, and you will have to choose whether to embrace or reject those opportunities. That requires wisdom. And here's where I'm going to go against taboo. Number 1, from our list above, and talk about God. There's human wisdom, an understanding that comes from man, and divine wisdom, an understanding that comes from God. You can choose which you want to follow, but my personal preference is to go with divine wisdom to discern which battles to fight. For me, that means relying on the Holy Spirit for direction. Amen. We should always have that. Well, I'm a strong proponent of having discernment through the relying on the Holy Spirit for discernment. Whomever you may prefer to seek, I believe that divine input is required. That's the only part I wanted to share there, because I thought that was a very interesting perspective to share with everybody there. So before we go into the lyrics, you got anything else that you want to add on to so far everything that we've kind of broken down?
Well, I was just thinking about this last part. Like if you can already see that, what what accomplishing certain taboos, like that whole line of action and thought leads towards, you wouldn't really cognizantly indulge in that.
Yep.
So to I don't know, changing the meaning to like just trying about overcoming personal limitations, I just didn't think like that paragraph of that person's take on it was appropriate to what he had said on the paragraphs before, because the rest was about, not delving into actually doing the taboo,
Yeah.
In the end, they're like just trying to say, no, the taboo is your personal, like changing it to meaning
Me.
about personal
Yeah.
limitations. This takes away from like the spiritual meaning of that whole.
Absolutely. Yes. I agree with that. Yes.
So I was just felt like that one portion at the end was taking away from the spiritual part of the whole thing.
All right.
But
shall we go with the lyrics?
yes.
Let me bring it up here. Now, just a reminder, we are going to play the music video and the song. So for people out in the YouTube land, because I see a more like 2 handful of people, and I'm very happy to have a crowd at YouTube. Period. If you guys want to continue on to how we're gonna break this down with the music video, what I'll do is I'll drop the link out there on my Twitch channel, so you guys can come over. So I left the Twitch link there on my YouTube side because we're going to go exclusively only for Twitch and for Foxhole, because you know how YouTube goes, man. I mean, if I try to play music there, I'm gonna I already got a strike. If I get another one, I'm kind of done. So I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to play the game of leaving my channel there for as long as I can, God willing. All right, let me share this lyrics with you real quick. Let me share it with everybody there on the YouTube or out on the streaming. Where are we at? Hold on for a moment. Are you able to see it, Java?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on for a moment. Okay. Cool. So go ahead and I'll let you do the first two, first verse and chorus, and then I'll follow it up with the second verse and chorus.
All right. If I tell you now, will you keep on? Will you keep on loving me? If I tell you how I feel, will you keep bringing out the best in me? You give me the sweetest taboo. Kind of weird. You're giving me the sweetest taboo, so it's more the present tense. Too good for me.
Okay. So I mean, I can see how people can kind of like say, "Oh yeah, this is about a inappropriate relationship with somebody." I can see it in the first verse, but knowing that we know about the music industry, that could also mean something else too. Second verse. There's a quiet storm, and it never felt like this before. There's a quiet storm that is you. There's a quiet storm, and it never felt this hot before. Give me something that's taboo. Sometimes I think you're just too good for me. You give me the sweetest taboo. That's why I'm in love with you. You give me the sweetest taboo. Too good for me. Sometimes I think you're just too good for me.
I'd do anything for you. I'd stand out in the rain. Ooh. Anything you want me to do. Don't let it slip away. There's a quiet storm, and it never felt like this before. There's a quiet storm. I think it's you. There's a quiet storm, and I never felt this hot before. Giving me something that's taboo.
Then back to the chorus. It's the same thing that she's been saying on the chorus. So, like I said, this could definitely mean what it's supposed to mean for the song, right? But like I said, we know how the music industry works. When you get to a certain point in your career, you start putting out subtle messages out there for people. And there's, like I said, with the music video, there were things about that music video that just kind of made me question things. The pictures of the bull, and I think there's one part in the video where She opens the glove compartment and then a gun comes out. So what does that have to do with anything? Are they plotting to kill somebody? I don't know. I don't know. Are they plotting to kill the person that that person's married to? I really don't know. Could it mean that the next step of becoming successful in your career is having to sacrifice somebody? I don't know. You know, I'm just open to all these interpretations, and I'm looking at things in a biblical sense, and I'm also looking at things of what I've found out about the music industry in its own too. So there's a lot of things going on there. There's a lot of things going on. And the title of itself, the Sweetest Taboo. I mean, really, you equate that to something like a sexual thing, and then having to also find out about this philosopher whose name Sod. This can't be coincidence. I just don't think it is.
I mean, he was known for breaking and busting every taboo of his time.
Yeah, he was a very, very
I mean, he rippled like from the late 1700s up until when he died. Even just supposed actions, just by writing about him, that caused ripples for like the entire century after that. And yeah, everything that was considered sacred and or taboo, he just totally tried to explode.
Oh, he was into a lot of really. I would share the video. I would share it, you know, when we go on Twitch and Foxhole only. But I really don't know if people can stomach it, man. I mean, for me, it was kind of. I can kind of stomach it because of my former job. You know, I'm able to kind of not understand, but I can stomach that thing for. You know, I can stomach it. But for some people, I don't think they can, because a lot of the things that I found out about that particular philosopher or aristocrat, man, it's very sickening. Very sickening. It's very sickening, and and when you think about it, it relates to a lot of the stuff that's going on, especially with the whole Balenciaga thing that's going on too. It relates. There's a direct correlation to what they do with these sacrificial people, I would say. There's a direct correlation to it, man.
Yep.
But I really don't know if people can actually stomach that. You know, I think there's a point that I can stomach it too, but go ahead.
Somebody has to stomach a little bit of it so that we can be able to put a stop to it, you know? The thing is, like, some of these things are so intense that it's too traumatic to like put a lot of focus on, but by not at least trying to deal with it in some way, it's just going to keep perpetuating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's hard because this stuff is the absolute worst stuff that one can imagine that humans could do. And these people, this certain group of the aristocracy for hundreds of years, this is what they revel in. They love creating that and doing that.
Well, a lot of these music artists, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but Kanye West is coming out saying that, yeah, they straight up sacrificed my mom. He's saying all these things, man. Could it be one of those things where they're allowing this to happen to I don't know. I really don't know what I mean, people, are they letting all these things out now so blatantly just so people can accept it? Because people have, like, we've been, I wouldn't say not all of us, right? I would say that the programming has been there for so long that we've tend to extend out what we are accepted, that we can accept, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, I mean it's because we become desensitized
That's
to
the word I'm looking
things at a
for.
certain level that we it takes even for more. We could just take more and more until like the point where people born into like this level of it are just totally.
Yeah, I feel
Totally.
really bad for the generation now because they did not grow up with seeing what decency was about, or even what
And yep,
like
and
things of discretion. They never
right,
saw things of discretion because they had access to the internet, and more than likely a lot of parents probably were not on top of that. They weren't. They used they used the devices to babysit their own children. And
yep.
now look what happened. Look what happened. Now it's opened up to a different, like, it's just opened up. It's a Pandora's box that just opened up.
Well, and the people that um created that whole technology are the same ones that want to engineer all the generations into doing what they want. You know,
Just
that's
that
the freaky
just
thing is like they created the technology that's in training all these kids to do that
well, I
and to
mean,
be
just
desensitized. And
just what you said about doing what they want. Do without will. That in
uh,
itself is bad.
yeah,
Because if you have no limits to anything, you'll do anything. It's very weird.
no, it's the whole human, like a person trying to be God. That's what that whole thing is.
Yes. Yes. Self-absorbed.
Yep. And the thing is that people, I don't believe that everybody is naturally inclined towards that way. I think it's introduced into a culture at certain points, and that and people feed into it, and they especially introduce it to people that they have like a psychological. They analyze their psychological makeup, and they you know introduce certain things to people that meet the right psychological composition that they want that excels at whatever it is that they want to do. And this is part of it, unfortunately. Like the arts, the music, and the aristocracy are entwined.
Well, the arts is a big deal, man. This is this is my opinion, man. I think the arts influence. It's a huge influence on people. It's a huge influence on people,
Yeah.
and it's, to me. And we've had this discussion before. I think music is number one when it comes to influencing pop culture and all these things. It's huge. It's huge. Then comes the TV shows and the movies. That's secondary, but I honestly think that music is a big. I think there's a lot more power in music than what people just think it is.
Mm. And and recorded music took it to a whole other level, but that didn't come around till like the early 1900, like about a century ago or so. Because before that, it was paintings and stuff, but it was music, but composers and
Yes,
people would go
composed
and
music. Yeah,
there was certain composers that caused full on riots where the audience went insane and burned down the towns and shit, off of classical musical compositions and stuff. So, you know, and then it was also like once the printing press happened, um, the printed word did a lot of stuff like that too. And
interesting.
playwrights, even back, you know, as far back as Greek theater, they were influencing their culture through the arts. But all of the whole time, all of it has always been controlled by a certain aristocracy.
Because they were able to fund it.
Exactly, exactly. The whole time, even Michelangelo, everybody, they were funded by the rich aristocracy.
This is,
Oh.
you know,
And those are the ones that worship Moloch and or Luciferian and stuff. It's the aristocracy that, and then the people that they fund, even all the way up to Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? Like all the way back and all the way up. This aristocracy that's into Luciferianism and stuff is funding all the artisans, and then they start believing in the Luciferian stuff
Yep.
because they're being funded by it, and then those deals that we've uncovered with some of the lyrics happen because it's just like a whole interconnected thing that's been going on for centuries.
it's been very interesting, this show.
Oh yeah,
It's been very interesting. I didn't think that I would take directions to where I am now, but because of the idea of the show, praise God, man, because this came out of nowhere for me. And I begin to see the power of music and how much influence it has, and not to mention having to like this goes way back than what I thought. I thought
Yeah.
this whole thing was started during the hippie movement, the hippie culture, and no, it has not. It's gone further back. Now that I look at, because of this song and because of what you've mentioned with the aristocracy and the whole plays and all the paintings and classical music, this thing has been going on for centuries.
For centuries.
This is it's a very deep rabbit hole, man.
That this opens up a whole other branch of stuff to be presenting on this show in the future, because it goes, man, it's just, yeah, like bringing up the Marquis de Sade really proved the point of showing the debaucherous nature of the aristocracy in, over 200 years ago.
Yeah, no, actually, now that you think about, yeah, no, you're right. Over 200 years ago. I wouldn't say almost 300 years ago, because it was like in the 17th
Like
century.
1770s.
Yeah, the mid 1700s.
1814.
Yeah.
With
Man,
that particular person.
this
so.
this is something else, man. I never thought that I'd even dig. Like, I never thought that I even go back that far. But man, this whole thing is taking me back over there, all the way back. But it goes back to the whole New Age teachings and all these things, and the mysticism of ball worship and all these things, man. It's all being played out right in front of our eyes, and they still do these ritualistic stuff in concerts. It's straight up ritualistic, and it is, but a lot of people are still asleep.
Right. This has not reached their conscious awareness yet.
That's
And
why
it needs to, because they're just feeding into it and perpetuating this whole thing into the future. But they've really gotten good at engineering the people and the tools to the mediums to manipulate those people. We saw that with the past 2 years.
Oh,
They were able to
yeah.
get people to do all kinds of stupid shit.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, 2020 was a big experiment. It was a big, huge, not only for this country, but around the world. And a lot of people bought it hook, line, and sinker, man. A lot of people played into it. Because I was a quote conspiracy theorist kind of person. I knew that this whole thing with the CV, I was like, nah, man. This is another way to scare people and all this stuff. But I didn't think that the plan was gonna change the entire world, because remember, prior to that, they had different things like the swine flu and all, the Ebola, which is emerging up again.
Yeah.
all those diseases started coming out. But I didn't think that the CV was gonna like directly change how the world is now. And it's
Well, the whole thing, the stages, it was finally to the point where all the stages that were needed to be set were finally set. Like that whole plan covered a really, really long stretch of time. And I really think all those ones before that were little tiny tweakings of the plan. Because every year is something else. H1N1,
yeah.
SARS, bird flu,
Yep.
swine flu,
Yep.
everything. The measles or whatever happened a few years ago. You're like, really?
Yeah,
Measles?
they were saying that there was an
Zika virus. Your head's gonna shrink.
they said that there was an outbreak of measles out in Disneyland. I remember that. Yeah.
I'm like,
I
really?
remember that. Yeah.
And then Zika virus. They didn't want you to go to the Olympics in Brazil because your head is gonna shrink.
Yep. I remember that.
Every single year it's a different one because they were prepping for this thing because it fits into this whole agenda to like take over everything, but it's gonna backfire. It's backfiring. I think it was successful to a degree, but I don't really just. There's so many people that are more aware of stuff now.
Yeah, I could agree with you to a degree that yes, people are beginning to wake up, but what are they doing? Just because you know the information doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do something. I can agree that a lot of people are being awakened to this stuff, and they're even talking about stuff of quote conspiracy theory stuff. But what do you do from there? What do you do?
Right. Well, I guess I totally understand what you're saying, but it's like at least they're taking the first step of becoming aware of the problem, because then when the second step is to realize all the other people that have become aware of that problem, because then once that happens, then everybody can. The next step after that is getting together, and then that's where all the solutions come out of. But it takes that first step of going beyond thinking that they're discovering and learn that and know that by themselves, and
Right,
that there's a larger group of people that also have that understanding. Like that's what happened with the Foxhole and with a bunch of other sites like that.
They created their own solution to the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By realizing that there was other people that, have learned similar things or whatever. And then there's like an information sharing process at that point. And then it just kind of, the action phase does come after that. Absolutely.
I'm very curious as to how this is all going to turn out. We've had discussions before, and you know that I'm more of a spiritual guy, and I see a lot of the things happening. I see the problems being the problems to these the solution to these problems rather. I'm sorry, dyslexia just kicked in. The problems to these solutions, in my opinion, and I think, would be a spiritual intervention, because I mean we're far gone, man. I've never thought that I'd see what I'm seeing now as normalized. I never thought. Never did I ever think that, oh yeah, I'm going to see people like myself being canceled all over the place because of our views of things, or because I don't accept certain lifestyles that I'm deemed as somebody who's probably not good just because of a belief like that. I never thought. And having to see other people also get canceled for what they think, just having their own opinions about things can do, like, it can ruin your reputation. It can destroy your reputation just because you voice an opinion of something that doesn't go with what the agenda is being pushed.
Oh yeah. Well, what's happened though is that that's caused people to create total alternative platforms where where it's okay to express things like that.
Yeah. But you know how the internet is, man. I mean, people can find a clip, a snippet of you, and you say even if it's even if it's a platform that's safe, it's still out in the internet, and somebody can find it, and boom, you know, it's it's flagged. It goes viral or whatever in social media, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, so that person's, and people have different perception of what you are based on just that one thing that you just say. So I don't know. It's a weird time that we're living in. It really is weird.
That's why discernment's crucial.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Man, there's a lot of shouts out to you guys on the YouTube side, man. You guys are interacting big time there. Let's see here. Jason Z, what's going on? He says, it was all retrospective for me. I listened to that song in the 90s, Zero Perspective. Now it's alarmingly psychic. He's talking about the song by Rancid called Lockstep and Gone. Also to Kev R out in the YouTube land, thank you. Yeah, they're saying a whole bunch of stuff. Well, so this is the time where we're gonna share the music video. But unfortunately, if you guys, because I'm gonna have to kill the YouTube side of this, just because the way YouTube is, and I put down the link there for my Twitch channel. I'll put it again on the YouTube side. If you want to continue to watch on, just click on that link, and you guys are able to see and how we break down the video and stuff. Come down to the Twitch side of things, and we'll have a little bit more of a discussion there. Yeah, I was reading your comments, Jason Z, a little bit. I was reading a little bit. It's hard for me to do because I'm on different. I'm looking at two different screens here, so I'm trying to pay attention to my co-host and trying to read you there. So yeah. Anyhow, you want to drop anything for the YouTube guys out there that may want to follow any of your stuff, Java?
Thank you all for being here. Well, actually, all my stuff is over on the pill.net/foxhole app. I have a channel over there, but I also have a podcast you could check out. It's called 4 Minutes and 20 Seconds. It's on all the major streaming platforms. It's just a little bit of comedy and relaxation and fun. Just like a real fast little shot. Just relieve some stress.
That's him. That's Java right there, my co-host. And yes, I would highly recommend that you come check out his channel. I put this tree link there, my whole tree link. So if you want to find Java, you could go on my tree link, which will if you go to the Foxhole link, it'll shoot you to a different platform called Foxhole or pill.net. And there's a bunch of other people there that talk about political stuff. Red pill people, I would say. I mean, that's what they call them. It's another red pilled community. If you're into that, come by. I would highly recommend that you come by. Java is there as well, and he does really cool shows every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I want to say. Yeah. And also he co-hosts on another show called Mr. C in the Dark, and you guys were just talking about transhumanism yesterday. So they talk about that kind of stuff as well, which is very interesting. So yeah, I think that's all I got for the YouTube side. But yeah, I dropped the link there for my Twitch. So the reason why I'm directing you to Twitch, because I want to build that channel up some more. So please come and join us at the Twitch side of things. And once again, if you're not going to come to Twitch, I will be live again tomorrow at 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time for my journey with Yah. Is when I share what I go through in my journey with God. So hope to see you guys on the Twitch end. Thank you for joining us at the YouTube side. And if I don't see you tonight on the Twitch end, hope to see you tomorrow on the YouTube sides of things. So good night to you guys on YouTube, and God bless.
Good night.